Hello and welcome to the podcast. Every moment is sacred, where we interweave meditation and healing into everyday life. I am your host, Rain Elizabeth Stickney. Now, let us begin. Welcome back. Today's episode is a fun one because I recorded it outside. I have a long history of being outside and recording my voice. Do you want to hear how it started? It makes me giggle because when I was a teenager, I lived in a suburban neighborhood of Santa Rosa, California, which is the north of the North Bay of San Francisco. And I had little mini cassette recorders, different ones at different times, originating probably as a Walkman. But if you take the headphones off, some of them you could record into. And I would grab my Walkman or whatever mini cassette recorder I had, and I'd go out on a walk at night. It would always be at night because in this suburban neighborhood, cookie cutter houses, a park just being developed, the streets were quiet at night. Nobody was around. There was no traffic. Everyone was inside or sleeping. And I would just walk those streets and philosophize about life. If I ever find those tapes, I will find a way to share some of those memos with you. They were my heart's wonderings and wanderings of life as it is and as it may be. On those tapes are stories of my childhood, which was very troubled. I had a very hard time as a child. I also have been a person who has chosen to be tenacious. Some people persevere, and I do too. But the quality that has been named in me by other people most often is tenacity. Just hanging on to what matters for dear life and not letting go. Now, this might sound funny because as a meditation teacher and as a healer and spiritual counselor, there are many important teachings about letting go. But let us not let go to what truly matters. And that's what's in those tapes, what truly, truly mattered to me as a teenager. So here I am at night in my home in Vermont. It's warm and beautiful. There is a fire behind me. So if you hear the clicking of the fireplace, that's the sound of the metal expanding or contracting as the fire does what it does. There is wind outside, and my house was built the same year I was born. How do you like that? 1975. This house was built. I was born, and somehow the house and I found each other. And so it's a bit old and creaky. And when it's windy, the creaks are apparent. And I'm talking into a microphone to all of you about my heart's wonderings and wanderings and wanting to share my life in a positive and helpful and meaningful way. In these mini episodes, I'm setting the stage of patience, practice, perseverance, and perhaps a bit of tenacity. And I want to dive in as well and share some of the difficulty that I've experienced in my lifetime. Because when I share these tender and precious moments of what I have experienced, time and time again, people say, Rain, you need to write a book. Rain, you need to share this with more people more often. And I don't know the outcome of those longings in me and longings in other people. I do know that that reflection is true, though. I know that I hold some treasures that are deep and true and helpful about how to unlearn trauma, the unlearning of harm is valuable and important for all of us, I believe. And this is what I'm setting the stage for, so that we have a safe space together to listen and learn, to share and be heard, to have a voice. And I welcome you to engage. I welcome you to share this podcast. I welcome you to rate and review. And in your reviews, you can tell me anything you liked, any questions you have, how my words touch you. And you can engage in other ways too, through social media, writing me an email. I want you to know that you matter. You matter as a listener. Your story matters. And how I touch you matters. My intention is to help and to touch gently and profoundly. It's the way I do body work. And my approach, as best I can, is always to be gentle and strong, to be thoughtful and free to be spontaneous, so that these dualities of life are joined in the presence of being. And what I'm getting at here is the end of this episode ends with the gift of aliveness. Now, knowing the end doesn't spoil anything, but there is something about aliveness that I want to share for just a moment. When I speak about aliveness, about the preciousness of being alive, that does have a spiritual attribute. We can call this life force energy, this creator gift of being, aliveness. There is also an aliveness that's very powerful in the body, and that is what I have found, at the very least, to be that our bodies are designed to live. And of course, we don't live forever. And there are many practical reasons for that and mystical reasons. But the aliveness of the body is also what I'm referring to when I'm asking us all to be freely and fully alive. The gift of life is so precious that when we choose to be alive, it's like a second wind. It's a reborning. It is life exponential. And so I am inviting you into my world of aliveness so that you can embody the aliveness that is you in your own unique way, which might be similar to or totally different from my way. I welcome it all. So let's see what happens when we go for a short walk together in my forest. I do live in the middle of a beautiful forest, and that's where we're going. This is the sound of me walking in the snow. I'm walking in my forest. It's fall, and we had our first snow yesterday. It's melting and icy, but still snowy. It's probably in the 30s. And it's so beautiful and quiet. Quiet when I'm not crunching. And there are trees all around me. Hemlock, white pine, ironwood, black birch, white birch, shaggy bark, hickory, beech, and lots of maple. There are also oak trees. And on the forest floor there is moss, and there are ferns. And I didn't know this before living in Vermont, but the ferns and the moss live through the snow quite well. So sometimes clearing a snowy patch will reveal some really beautiful ferns and gorgeous moss underneath. And the way the sunlight hits the snowy branches, and as the snow melts, the water glistens. It's quite magical to live in the snow. I didn't know how I would like it. I was born and raised in California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. And yes, the cold affects my voice. I am not sick, just in the cold. We have an airport nearby, the Burlington Airport, so there's an airplane going overhead now. Here's the thing. Go out in nature. Go outdoors, wherever you are. If you need protective gear because of the air or sunlight or snow or wind or rain or whatever element is present for you, get it. And go outside. Or maybe you live in a very moderate climate, like where I grew up in the North Bay of San Francisco. Maybe it's really easy to go outside. Even if it's just sidewalks and houses around you. Go outside. It's so beautiful to be outside. Indoors is great too. but make some time and space to be outdoors and feel the shelter of the sky and see the friends of whatever nature is around you. Mushrooms or birds, stones or dirt. We are alive, and we each are part of this natural landscape. Let the natural instincts of the human being flow through you and flow through your life. You get to be alive now, here with me and me with you. We are alive. Let us celebrate this. Let us be alive together in a good, good way. Thank you so much for listening. It has been a great joy to have your presence here in this podcast. I welcome you to celebrate the joy and wisdom in your life exactly as it is. And I welcome you to feel loved, fully loved, exactly as you are. www.rainelizabeth.org